Hello, thanks so much for joining us today. I am very excited to talk with Bryan Pankratz, who is a real estate agent here in Minnesota. We've been talking a lot about the spring market and about people who are just getting ready to jump into looking for a house. So we wanted to talk about, what's that process when you want to start looking for a house? Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you. Yeah, I thought, whether you're a first-time home buyer or you just haven't gone through the process in a while, it might be good just to do a refresher for everybody on kind of how the process works, where it starts and what the middle part is and where it ends, and where we both come into play with it.
Yeah, I think it's a great topic because really, like you said, somebody can own a home, but it may have been a long time since they've done it, and they need a little refresher on what are those steps so they don't jump in at the wrong part of the process.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
So what would you say is the best first step to take when somebody wants to start looking for a house?
Yeah, well, that's funny you asked me that because we might have a different opinion on this. I would say it's A1 and AB, whether they should be talking to a mortgage professional or a real estate professional. Either one is important. They're the two first steps. If someone calls me, the first thing I'm going to tell them, suggest to them after we talk about what they're thinking about doing is getting pre-approved and calling you. So they know where they're at, what they can afford, what's in their budget, what makes sense. And then after they know that, talk to me some more, or whoever they're going to talk to, and kind of make a game plan on what the timeline is, where they're looking, how we're going to look, and kind of what they can expect.
Yeah, well, and I kind of think of that as putting your team together, right?
Yeah,
Get your key players on your team, which are your real estate agent, your mortgage lender, and really important, as you said, we might disagree on this. I don't think we disagree, but I think we both agree that it's important that somebody gets a formal pre-approval before they actually go out and start looking at houses, because that way we have a solid commitment for financing in case they find something right away.
100%, 100%. And I like the idea of a team because it is a team. So that everybody is going to play their part, and certain things have to go in order. And that pre-approval letter is the most important thing.
Yes. And so once they're pre-approved, what's the next step?
Yeah. So usually what I like to do with my clients is sit down with them either in person, get a cup of coffee, or if that's not available, just do it on the phone and set up I call it a game plan, set up a search for them so they can be seeing what's on the market. And depending on their timeline, get out and start looking at them. The only way you're going to really learn the market is seeing them in person. And so looking at homes is the most important. Pictures are great and they can tell us a lot. They don't tell us everything.
Some
So
of them can be very misleading for good or for bad.
absolutely, absolutely. So just getting out there and starting to learn what you get for your money. And a lot of times buyers will change their mind. They think they want this, and all of a sudden they start leaning towards this. So we'll adjust and we'll start searching for this. That's really the only way to start is get out, start looking at them, and you're going to want to give yourself enough time. If your end date, let's say you want to have a house in August, now is the time to start looking because we're looking, somewhere between 30 and 60 days to have a closing, depending on the finances, but 45 is probably average. So, giving yourself enough prep time so you're not scrambling just to find any house.
Yes. Well, and I would say for frame of reference, today is June 11th. And so, like you said, 45 days is pretty average, but it can be longer, it can be shorter, and it takes some time to find the right house.
Absolutely. And also it depends on if you're going to be contingent on selling your house, that makes it more complicated. We can certainly do it. I just did one where we sold a house and bought a house and we're closing on the same day and it's going to work out just perfect.
Fantastic. And so when they find the right house, what's the next step?
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I really come into play is going through the homes and helping them understand, is this the right home for you? Picking out things that the average buyer might not look at. Once they find that house and we agree that we should make an offer, I'm the one that's preparing the offer. I sit down with them, um, make the best offer we think, and that offer, it really is going to depend on the situation. If the house is brand new and there's multiple offers, we're going to be looking at potentially going over asking price. If the house has been sitting there for 2 months, now we know maybe we have some negotiating that we can do, and we figure out what that right number is. And I kind of reverse engineer it, and go back and look at the comps and come up with what I think that house is worth and should sell for in a fair market, and then give a recommendation on what they want what they should offer. Of course, the buyer can do whatever they want. They can offer whatever they want. But that's where I come in to try to help them understand, if you offer this, this is what I think is going to happen. If you offer this, I think we got a great shot at getting it.
Well, and that's something I just want to mention that I really appreciate about you, because not all real estate agents actually go and look at comparables when they're writing an offer.
Right.
And it's really important not only to have a successful offer, but not to have surprises later on. And that's not something everybody does, but it's something that makes you special. So thank you for doing that.
Yes, yes. Yep. I think I agree. It's a very important part of the job, and it helps really come up with that right number, so someone's not overpaying. Just so we know if that it's a fair deal.
And so when they make the offer, then there's a negotiation process that happens, right?
Yep. So we go back and forth. I mean, sometimes they'll take the offer just like that. If we're going over and we get it, that's great. But a lot of times there's back and forth. They'll come back. A common way is they'll want to split it. There's 100 different scenarios that can work its way out. And so we go back and forth, and we either agree on terms or we start looking for a new house. So we agree on terms, and now the next step is getting that offer to you, so you can start doing your end of the job.
Well, and you've got some things on your side too, some contingencies you might be clearing, some things that you guys may be waiting for documentation that you need to clear as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Typically, we're going to do an inspection. It's always the recommendation to do one. There's certain times where we might not do one if we're in multiple offers and houses, like brand new. It might be acceptable or okay to skip it. But usually we're going to do an inspection. So then we go through that inspection, and we're looking for issues that are safety issues or hazardous issues. If it's an issue we knew about going into the offer, it's not something we should be asking for to be fixed. But there's many times that items come up that we had no idea that were deficient. A furnace is a common example. Most furnaces need to be cleaned. Most people don't clean their furnaces as much as they should. So that's a common one. And it could be any other little thing that, well, I shouldn't say little, that maybe seems little, but it could be, hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars that we need to ask for to make sure that the buyers are safe, comfortable when they get into the house.
Right. Well, and then like you said, the purchase agreement gets sent over to us. And I always think of us as we're like the little ducks on the surface that look very calm, but now our feet are going like this, because as soon as you get an accepted offer, things kick into gear on our side.
Yep.
And we have contingencies we need to clear too, right? We need to have an appraisal done, if one is required, which in certain cases it may not be. And that can be a huge advantage if we know ahead of time there's no appraisal, because that can help get the offer accepted. But we're ordering title work, we're updating documents so that everything's ready for the final underwriting and getting them ready for the closing, while you guys are going through inspections and clearing contingencies on your side.
Yeah. The other common one is in a townhome or any most homes, if they have an association, then we have 10 days to review those. So then I get those documents, I forward them on to the buyers, and we review those to make sure that they all look good. The budget is a big part. We want to look at that. Other restrictions for pets can be an issue that sometimes people won't think about. They have 3 dogs. The association only allows 2 dogs. Well, now maybe that's not a good fit for us. All kinds of things in there that we need to just double check that could be important to the buyer, that it might affect them.
Yeah, or even if they're thinking about living there for a number of years and maybe moving out and keeping it as a rental in the future, they need to make
Yep,
sure the association allows rentals too.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So what would you have to say about the appraisal process? Because I did touch on that a little bit earlier, but some commentary from your side I think is important, because it's not just a mortgage issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Knock on wood, this year appraisals have been coming in good. I haven't had a low one yet that we've had to dispute or negotiate out. But yeah, that's usually kind of the last hurdle that we're waiting on, because the other inspections and other contingencies are usually complete at this point. So now we're just waiting on that appraisal. And once we get that, then we're really looking good.
Well, and I would say again, the reason you have not had any value problems on appraisals is because you've run comps for your buyers before
Yeah,
they
right.
offer.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And then, you guys have a final walkthrough that you need to do right before closing as well, correct?
Yeah, so yeah, usually there's a week or two of kind of not much to do, just getting everything done. On the mortgage side, we have the closing, and then typically the night before or the morning of, we'll do a walkthrough. And all we do on the walkthrough is just basically to make sure the house looks like it did when we saw it. that they didn't have a big party and put holes in the wall. They didn't trash it somehow. Any inspection items that we asked to have done, we confirm that those were done. Generally, we'll have the receipt beforehand, but then we can visually look at it to make sure that it was completed. Run the water, work the appliances. It's almost like a quick mini inspection that I do with the buyers. If the buyers are out of town, I'll do it myself and do a FaceTime and just make sure the house looks good. And 99% of the time, it looks good. Once in a while, there's a weird issue that pops up that we can negotiate out quick before the closing.
Right. Well, and that's, as you mentioned, 99% of the time it's good. But the reason you do a final walkthrough 100% of the time is that one time that it isn't.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And this is something that's changed our industry. You and I have both been doing this long enough that we remember the days that we would give clients an estimated amount due at closing on the mortgage side, but we wouldn't really know the final number for sure from the title company until the
Right.
clients actually got to the closing.
Right.
And quite a long time ago now, that changed for the better. And clients need to have that final number at least 3 business days before closing.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm very excited that changed. I know it kind of threw the mortgage world into a little bit of a tailspin. Oh my gosh, how are we going to get things done
Right.
that much earlier? But it's the
Right.
right thing for the client. So now there's no question when they're going to closing, they've seen everything already. They know what those numbers are.
Well, yeah, doing it this long, things change every year. Something changes, and you probably feel the same way. Once in a while, I feel it's frustrating or negative, but it's almost in the long run a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. Is there anything else you think people should think about if they're wanting to hop into the process and start looking for a house?
No, not really. It's really just a personal thing on when you think it's time to start looking. It's never too early to start looking. I have people that have been looking for years that are on the fence on whether it's the first time, whether they're renting, they've been renting for a while, and they're not sure when to pull the trigger. They're trying to time it out right, and you're never going to time it out right. I would say you have to be comfortable and know it's the right thing to do. But at some point, you might have to push yourself a little bit and take the leap.
Yeah. Well, and you said exactly what I say to my clients as well, is that it's never too early to have a conversation. Doesn't mean we're going to buy a house right now, but the more information you have and the earlier you have it, more likely the better outcome you're going to have.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. So if people want to get a hold of you because they would like to start looking for a house or even just explore their options, how do they reach you?
Yep, it's Bryan Pankratz. Phone number is 952-270-0750. On Facebook, and my email is real easy. It's Bryan, Bryan, at teambp.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking time to talk with us about
Yes,
this
thank
today.
you. Thank you very much.